Hi. We have a guest speaker today. Does everyone have one of these? Something like this, similar color. Does everyone have one? If you don't have one, raise your hand and we'll get you one. Everybody needs one. Well, everyone would like one anyway. So, we have a guest speaker. This young lady has been with us for many years, and yay howdy, she has been on a spiritual path for many years beyond that. Quite accomplished. She, I don't even know everything. I know a lot about her past, but I actually don't know a lot of things that she does right now necessarily, except that I know she's quite an accomplished hypnotist. So if that's something that you're interested in, that's something you need to talk to her about, because we've sent people to her and has done amazing things. I know she does a lot of different healing modalities at some time or other, and I had a couple of other things I was going to say too, and I can't remember what they are. So without further ado, Jocy, get up here. Yep.
Thank you. Good morning. This morning I'm going to talk about Ho'oponopono. Okay. And a lot of us I know already know this process, right? How many of you know about this process? Okay. How many of you have been successful with the process? A few less hands. Okay. What I want to share with you is an experience I had a few weeks ago that changed my viewpoint of this process. I've used it before, and I thought it was really good, but it wasn't as dramatic as my last experience with it. So, to begin with, what does Ho'oponopono mean? And it means, Ho means cause, and Ponopono means perfection, so to cause perfection. In other words, to get better, to make perfect. And all we're going to do is say four statements, these four statements. I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you. It does not matter what order you say these in. That is of no importance. That seems overly simplified, doesn't it? I mean, you really think that's going to work, just saying those four things? Well, they can be extremely powerful. Extremely powerful. So I'm going to tell you what happened, and then we're going to talk about why that's possible to happen. A few weeks ago, I was driving home one afternoon, and my arm was sore. It was very tender. By that night, the whole shoulder was sore. The next morning, I could not lift my arm like this. I couldn't pick up a glass of water. To pick up a glass of water, I had to go like this to pick it up. So I walked around that day, scrunching my face up every time I moved. And by the next morning, I went to get out of bed, and I sleep on the right side of my bed. I went to roll over. I couldn't roll over on my right side. It was way too painful to do that. I sleep in a king-size bed. I rolled over on my left and scooched on my belly all the way across the bed to get out of bed, which was probably not a pretty sight. Anyway, I made it out of bed, but that day I was in a great deal of pain. And so I went to a massage therapist, Marilyn Meyer, who's wonderful. And she said, Jocy, it's not only in your shoulder, it's all the way down your back. And so I went home and I thought, I know what this is about. I know what causes shoulder and the pain, and we're going to talk about that. But I don't have anything like that going on right now. Right. Mm-hmm. And so I went to Gary Gorsuch the next day, and he's a chiropractor, quote unquote, that works with your energy field and not manipulation of the bones. So I went into Gary and I said, I am hurting, I need you to fix me. And he literally jumped backwards like that. He said, I don't do that. He said, I don't manipulate people. And I said, really, Gary, I've been coming to you for 6 months now. You don't think I know you don't manipulate people? I said, I know when I get on your table, the emotion's going to come up. And that's going to help me get rid of what's behind this physical problem. Because all physical problems have an emotion behind them. Every single one of our physical problems have that emotion behind them. And we'll talk about that in a few minutes. So emotion came up, but it still didn't come out entirely when I was on his table. So that night at home, I thought, I have to do Ho'oponopono. And I said it in my head, and I thought, you know, I think I should know who this is about, who I'm holding this resentment or this feeling towards. You know, it's always them out there. Right? It's always them. It's never us. It's always them. Well, it's never them. It's always us. I knew that on one level. But so I decided okay, this might just be about this one person.
Did you know her?
Him. So I said Ho'opono in my mind, and I thought, it's just not about him. It has to be something else. But, so I had said in my head, friend, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you. And that's how it sounded in my head. But I thought, you know, one time I did a 40-day prayer when I went to the Academy of Healing Arts up in Yakima, and I attended that for 3 years, and it was 3 days a month for 9 months. And we did all kinds of healing modalities, but the main thing we had to go through, we had to do a lot of forgiveness of ourselves, a lot of forgiveness processes. It was very important that we do that in order to become a healer. And then I taught us a year for that. So one of the processes was this 40-day prayer. And you had to say out loud every day for 40 days that you forgave anyone that offended you, and you had to forgive everyone that you had offended, that you ever thought you had offended. You had to say their name and then make both statements out loud for 40 days. If you missed a day, you started over. I only missed twice. I think it took me 65 days. But what was truly interesting about that process was that I knew exactly when that forgiveness had set in by the sound of my words. It was a different person every night, but you had to keep saying that whether you had accomplished it yet or not. But the interesting part was I heard it. The vibration was different. And so I thought, okay, I have to say Ho'oponopono out loud. So I sat up and I said, friend, I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. And I went, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. There was so much energy, because that's not nearly as forceful as I said it. I don't want to blast you out of here, but it was way more forceful. 40 minutes later, I could say that, and here it was okay. The vibration, I knew I meant it. I got up the next morning, absolutely no pain, no restriction, no problem. I walked out, and my nephew, who's been very helpful in the last few days, went, well, how's your shoulder this morning? And I went, and his eyes got really big. What happened? So I think by us saying things out loud, that vibration has more meaning to us, because I would have bet money, good money, and I'm not a bettor, I would have bet money when I said that silently to myself. I would have bet money that what was behind it was resolved. So today, at the end of the talk, we're going to all say this together. And you can say a person's name if you're comfortable in doing that. If you don't, then we're going to say friend to start out with. And we're going to see how that sounds. So you might go through it in your mind now and see how it sounds to you. Let's talk about, though, what parts of our body different emotions set in. So as a hypnotherapist, we find very consistent patterns, and we find it in a lot of other modalities too. Anger tends to affect our head. If we have migraines, that usually is there's something in our life that we feel is out of our control. The throat area is usually about not speaking our truth or holding our tongue. And you know, Janice talks about these a lot, and we ought to pay attention. She and I use different words, but they're similar meanings. The shoulders have to is the feeling of too much responsibility, too much workload, someone's not doing their share. None of these emotions have to have any truth to them at all. When we have an emotion and we send it out to someone else, it boomerangs. It goes out there, it touches them, it comes back. It's going to stay with us permanently until we resolve it. Okay? So shoulders are feeling too much responsibility and workload. Chest is fear and insecurity. This is why we have all the heart problems, all the lung problems, all the cancers. This is worry. That's why we get ulcers, the stomach. The hips are lack of support. The feet are restrictions. We're getting pushed into going somewhere we don't want to go, or we're getting stopped from doing what we want to do. So those are general emotions. But those emotions, once we have them, begin to set in the body. The body is very, very resilient. It can go many years without breaking down. But after a period of time, if you don't resolve those emotions, they're going to become physical. So that's why as we get older, we have a lot more aches and pains and problems, because we've had a lot more time to take on a lot more emotions. So pretty much most healers can tell you, if you say, I have a problem with my knee, we can pretty much tell you what's behind that, in general. Okay, not exactly. Our emotions, we have a male side of our body, which is our right side, a female side. So if I send emotions out to males, they go out to that person, they boomerang back to me, and they're going to affect my right side. If I send that emotion out to females, it's going to go out there, come back, and set on my left side. Okay. So this was about me thinking someone else wasn't doing their share, feeling too much responsibility and workload, which wasn't really hard for me to figure out who that was, that I was sending that emotion to. Now we have a choice in every situation, right? We can choose to take a negative thought about that person, because none of this, remember, none of this has to be true, what our feelings are. None of it has to be true. And we're fortunate enough here, William and Sandra have a course every Wednesday night, Mind Shifters, and it really helps us work through those ideas and thoughts we have. Michael Rice's work, and that's R-Y-C-E, his work, Why is this happening to me again? Thank you. Is a wonderful book to get. He has worksheets online. All you have to do is put Michael Rice, R-Y-C-E, in any search engine, and you'll come up with his website. Byron Katie also has a wonderful website, and she has all the worksheets there. When you go through those worksheets, you find that all these thoughts we have about the other person ends up really being about us. We're always talking about ourselves. Isn't that the pits? That it never gets to be about them. That's not partly fair. It's always about us. But it is, no matter what those thoughts are. So let's talk about an example. Let's say that someone calls you stupid. We have a choice there, right? We have a choice to be offended. We have a choice to make a different decision. And what Michael Rice says, I think he says that at any one moment you have something like 10,000 bytes of information available to you at every moment, and we choose 9. I mean, you can't even hardly count that as a percentage. 9 out of 10,000. We had what, 9,991 other choices we could have made? And that's all it's about, is making a different choice, looking at it differently. That's really all it's about. So in every situation in our life, we can choose to look at it differently. Myrna, did you get a handout? There's a, Stephen, can you bring a handout to Myrna right over here? So let's talk about, when we say this, what are we really saying? I'm sorry. We're asking for forgiveness, our forgiveness of ourselves. We're the only ones involved in this. We're asking ourselves. We're saying, I'm sorry, Jocy. Please forgive me. We're asking divine for help. It's really hard to say we're the source of all our experiences, but we are, because of those choices made. So we're asking, please forgive me for the choice I made. Let me make a different choice. When we say, please forgive me, we're asking ourselves to make a different choice. And the I love you transmutes energy from stuck to flowing. And all of our modalities, isn't that what we're doing? We're wanting stuck energy to move. Okay? I love you begins to move that energy, and it unlocks the door to the healing. And thank you is expressing our gratitude for that divine help that gives us this ability to create our own experience. So we created it one way, and now we want to create it differently. We want to make a different choice. Okay. Now you understand all of it, right? Does anybody have any questions? Tina? Oh. The hips are lack of support. The feet are restrictions. Okay. Lack of support could be emotional support, financial support, any way that you would look at support, emotional support. The feet, the restrictions, you're getting pushed into a direction you don't want to go, or that direction is being blocked. The knees can be either. And these are real general descriptions, but it's surprising how many, oftentimes I can say to someone, they'll tell me an emotion they're having, I say, well, you having a problem with this part of your body? Yeah, how'd you know? Because it's consistent in all of us. Yeah?
What about arms?
The shoulders are the responsibility. The hands are giving and taking. That's why all the carpal tunnel, we're taking someone's words or actions. We're having to take something we don't want to take, or we're having to give more than we want to give. So the elbows, again, are like the knees. It can be either of those things. It can be responsibility or the giving-taking. You know, all the carpal tunnel, they say it's a repetitive action. I think it's the emotion. Susan?
The only thing I would add is I've been doing Ho'oponopono about 2 years, is that sometimes you're in places where you cannot stop.
Susan, just a minute.
Catherine, let's get you a microphone here.
I'm glad she's doing that.
Okay. The only thing I would add, Jocy, is that sometimes, I do think saying it out loud is powerful, but sometimes you're actually in places where you can't do it. And I find that it works very well when, like if I'm in a meeting that gets annoying. I start in right away. I can blank out quietly and say it in my head. And what I do is I say it, and I say it, and I say it until I feel a shift in my heart. I feel it in my heart. Now, other people could feel it other places, but that's where I feel it. And rather than waiting until the evening when, I can do it, taking care of it immediately is very helpful to me.
I think that's a wonderful idea. And I always said it silently too, until I had this experience.
Right, and I do
So
think it is powerful.
I would try it later just to see if it still rings true for you. Because I'm telling you, I would have bet good money that I was okay with that issue, and I wasn't. Because I've always said it silently, and I felt it worked for me silently. But you're feeling it in your heart.
Right.
And so you are getting a feeling somewhere.
Yeah, I'm getting the feeling in my heart. And like I said, I don't, if I'm in a meeting getting annoyed or I'm upset at somebody, rather than wait.
Right, I
till
think
can
that's
say
good.
if I might, say it out loud.
Yes.
I'm choosing to do it that way. And then that's not to say that you can't do it later.
Right.
Because I agree with you that you may need more work.
Right. And there's some things that are not set in our body already. This had taken physical form already. And the body gives us 5 or 6 years, really, usually before it starts breaking down. It has to get hit with that emotion a lot before it gets physical. Okay?
Jocy, will you please, I'm stuck. I'm not sure I understand what
Okay.
asking forgiveness inside of yourself for whatever brought it to you means.
Whoa, that can be a big question. We attract things to us to have experiences, I believe. Okay? And so that's the attraction. Something has come to us so that we can remember who we are. And we are spirit having this physical experience. And we're here to experience things to help us remember who we are. So that's what it's talking about. All of these experiences that we take on a lot of times as negative were not sent to us to be negative. They were sent to us to help us remember that we're spirit first and always, forever, eternal. Okay, we're running out of time, and we want to do this process together out loud. So I'd like you to repeat it silently to yourself. Find the person that you want to use this on. Say these 4 statements silently to yourself, and then we're going to do it out loud. And what I want you to note is when we say it out loud, did it seem different or did it seem the same? So you can say the person's name first if you want to. The rest of us are going to say friend. And then we're going to go through these 4 statements. We're going to go through them. Let's do it 5 times. Okay, we're not going to say the name, but we're going to all say the 4 statements 5 times. So, friend, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. So now, did any of you hear it different when you said it out loud? Okay, so some did and some didn't. So it probably somewhat matters whether you made it physical yet or not. That might be a difference. Anyway, thank you very much. Thanks for letting me share this.